Lord, help him speak words of wisdom because he's not very wise. I think that's a part of it. So I'll do my best. We've been in this series lately on the 7 essentials as kids graduate, leave high school, but even before that. But we want them to have certain, I don't know if you want to call it tools, have the maturity, have the character required to live well in this world, because so many people, and it's not just young people, it could be old people as well, but they don't live very well. And so this is really a series on how to live well in a world that's not well. And we need to be different. If we're going to be light and salt, it's more than coming to church. It's so much more than that, although we're glad you're here this morning. And so it was 7 things that people need not just to know about, because I think in the church sometimes we get to the place, well, as long as you know about it, the fact you can't actually do it, well, just relax. You know about it. You know you should. And we want to get to a place, Jesus never says try. His thing is do. Do it. Don't just be able to quote a verse or know a reference. Those things are important. Don't just know a principle, but actually do what I'm saying. And there is a big difference in a large space between knowing and doing. And so if we get to a place where we do and go, there's at least 7 things. And so based off of a book that we read a number of years ago, we're going on this, and I've talked about authentic faith. You need that. You need to operate out of authentic faith. Talked about healthy relationships, and you know how important healthy relationships are, and if you don't know yet, you will. I mean, relationships basically will make or break your life, and if you don't know how to, I don't want to say just get along with people, it's more than just getting along, but if you don't even have the skills, the capacity, the maturity to do that, I mean, your life is just going to be one of continual upset, and you wonder why. What's this all about? And oftentimes, if people were honest, they'd be pointing back at you. The book of James asks, how come people can't get along? How come there's all these quarrels all the time? And James says, well, it's because inside you have all this is my translation, all this stuff, all this gunk. And that's why you can't get along. That's why people can't get along. I'm going to guess maybe sometime this past week, since we met here last Sunday, you've been in conflict with somebody somewhere. Just a guess. Right? Maybe you didn't say anything. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't make a gesture. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't roll your eyes. Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't let out air. You know what I'm saying? That kind of air. Different ways to, do that. Gosh, it doesn't take long, does it? Right over here. It wasn't in the notes. But this morning, it's on selflessness. And getting to a place where you're more selfless than selfish. Now, if I just ask you a question, do you think most people most of the time are thinking mostly about themselves? Or do you think most people most of the time are other-centered, thinking more about God, thinking more about other people? I would think, what do you think? Yeah, I think so too. And the other question is, when we point it back to ourselves, well, where do I fit in there? Because I think most people think they're genuinely caring, loving people, and it's not that we're not at all, but I go, most of the time, who are you mostly thinking about? And if you're a parent, well, I'm thinking about my kids all the time, but your kids are so connected to you, sometimes it's hard to separate their happiness from yours, because when they're down, you're down, when they're up, you're up. You know how that works, and so even parents or grandparents, who do you think you're thinking about most of the time? It could be yourself, if you're honest with yourself. And, I don't know how honest we actually want to be with self because of what may turn out. So anyway, if people are going to, live well or live a successful life, I mean, there ought to be this course somewhere in school. Selflessness 101, 201, graduate with a degree in selflessness. I mean, all these degrees, you can get a degree in about anything out there. I remember talking to a guy one time. I had to take him out for lunch. He was at a church. He'd come in to speak. And the guy had 2 PhDs, which I'm going, isn't one enough? But he had 2 PhDs. And one was in, I don't know, some type of biomolecular something. And I go, what's your other one in? Research. And it just kind of stopped me. You can get a PhD in how to study, in how to dig deep, and how to do it well. But yeah, the guy had 2 PhDs, and one was in research. How to dig deep and stuff. And there used to be the days when people had to hang out in libraries. Not anymore. It's like all online, or it's almost all online these days. But anyway, it's more than just being smart. There ought to be, boy, if we could have a program in selflessness, or at least some classes, at least bring that up as a value. It's incredible. You may not know how important selflessness is, or you may not know how selfish you are until what? Until you're in relationship, right? You might think, well, I'm just a loving, giving, other-centered individual until. And oftentimes it's until what? Until I got married. And then I found out. And once you find out that who you're married doesn't do things exactly the way you were raised, what you were used to, or what you think is important. And you may bring it up to them, and they don't care, right? Well, I'm going to keep on doing certain things. I mean, if you were raised and people left certain lights on in the house at nighttime, just because they liked light to be on in another room as they entered, but you were raised, hey, that costs money. You better be turning them lights off. There could be this thing going on. Or I don't know about you guys, but there's something called the thermostat wars. You ever had the thermostat wars? Where you went through 3 thermostats in one winter because you wore them out? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And the thermostat doesn't know what to do. Isn't it great these days you can get cars where the person riding shotgun, they have like their own thermostat over there. They can set their temperature for them, and you can set yours for yours. Wouldn't that be great? Like in the house, it could all just be like that. Every room was for... But there's this stuff, and so you have a mindset of, I want it my way, and it shouldn't always be this way, and someone you marry and it's not that way, and then you have this stuff, and it goes on and on. Anyway, so selflessness is a huge value, and so point number 1 this morning is the need for humility, and I just say in parentheses, selflessness. Because humility really is or leads to selflessness. Selflessness, basically, I don't have to have what I want. It also, humility is, I am not necessarily right as much as I think that I am. We touched on that no one is as right as they think they are. Nobody is. But unless we're convinced that we're wrong, we're going to keep on thinking that we're right. So here's... out of Philippians, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit. Don't do anything based on what you want. Or this empty conceit. Don't be selfish. Be selfless. I mean, a great command. It's a command like anything else. Commands they call imperatives, and so it's an imperative. God gets to tell us what to do. God's word gets to tell us what to do, and we should say, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lead in that direction. That's my life's going to be about part of it, not being selfish anymore, because that's what Bible says. And the Bible is the God's word, so when the Bible speaks, God speaks. We saw last week, God is the ultimate authority, right? I don't know anyone who likes to be told what to do. God tells us what to do all the time. Because He loves us, that's why. Don't think about yourself so much is what it's saying. Don't think about what you think is right so much. Don't talk about yourself so much. Because we talk about what we're thinking about. And you listen to people's conversations, so much of the time, you know what they're thinking about? Themselves. You just hear it. Don't be driven by what you want. Here's the thought. If you're going to have goals, don't make them primarily about you. And that's a different thought, isn't it? Because so many of our goals have to do with me. I want to get these particular grades. I want to start on this particular team. I want to learn this instrument. I want to earn this. I want to, and I want to, and I want to go. I get it. But what if your goals were primarily to benefit humanity and glorify God and not primarily for yourself? So it's not that I want to get these grades for me, but maybe I want to get these grades so I can learn about this particular field or this subject so I can benefit humanity and glorify God. You don't start a business to make money. That's not the reason, or it shouldn't be the reason. Why do you start a business? To benefit humanity and glorify God. That's where you start a business. Or you end up just being like living in carnality. Unsaved people start businesses to make money. But you got to make money. I get that. But don't make money just to make money. But make money to benefit humanity and glorify God. And the second part is this, and that is we are more selfish than we know. We're more selfish than what we are aware of. Why? Because for those who are like always selfish, they're not even aware of the selfishness that they have. It's always about me. A number of years ago in a church far, far away that I pastored, there was this young couple, and I can't remember both. I think both of them were like Bible college graduates. And they were like in their early 20s, and they had like a little 1-year-old baby. And he wanted to come on and candidate to be our youth pastor. And so we'd gotten to know him. We're kind of thinking, boy, I think this is going to work out. But before I do, me and my wife and baby, we're going to go out to the Dakotas, her family from out there. We're going to go on vacation for a few weeks. And when we come back, well, maybe we can start the candidacy. Okay. So he goes out to the Dakotas, and his in-laws, they were going to build this huge retaining wall. And I don't know how tall it was, 8 feet, 10 feet. It was a substantial retaining wall. And so this guy who was going to candidate in his 20s, he's down there doing some dirt work down below. Well, his father-in-law is on a skid steer. A skid steer is I call it like a mini bulldozer, if you don't know what a skid steer is. He's on this mini bulldozer, skid is 8, 10 feet high. He gets too close to the edge, it falls over the edge, falls right on top of his son-in-law and crushes him, kills him. And you're going, wow. We're just shocked, right? How, you hear about this stuff happening, but it just happened. Good kid. A little baby. Then you think about the father-in-law. What he's going to carry. I killed my own son-in-law. Accident, right? Accident. Those things happen. And so the children's pastor comes to me and says, we're just going to, this is horrible. And then the children's pastor he said, you know what bothers me even like just as much is I'm thinking about the tragedy that happened there. And then the next thought is, now where are we going to find a youth pastor? And I told him, you know what? My mind went there pretty fast too. We're sort of like confessing to each other the selfishness. I mean, they're going through this tragedy. It's huge. And we're there, and like this, now where are we going to find a youth pastor? And we're sitting there going, what's wrong with us? And we're like pastors, and our mind just go there. Now we got more work to do. But if you're not careful, it's easy, even in something that we know better, that boom, we're right over here. And we didn't know maybe we were quite that selfish, but we were. So the issue is we are pre-programmed toward selfishness. We are born selfish. It's a part of what we call our sin nature. The Bible calls it our flesh. That is, and it's not like body flesh. Flesh, often in Scripture, is the tendency to do what's wrong. We all have this fleshly tendency. We're born internally made to think about ourselves and what we want more than others. You know, if you're raising kids at somewhere 2 or 3, what do you have to teach your kids early on? I mean, there's a number of things. But if they have a toy and a little friend's over and they want that toy, I mean, you see a battle erupting in front of you. And you try to teach them to what? Share. Now, some kids may just do it. By watching my kids, you had to like rip it out of their arms, and then they go into this crying and carrying on. You go, what in the world? How'd you get like that? And of course, the easy thing to do is blame it on your spouse, right? It came from your mother. Didn't see it in me. But teaching them to share, that's tough to do. And it's like, it's why relationships are so difficult, because of selfishness. If you want to know what we want to turn it, well, it's a communication issue. Well, there's communication issues, but basically before that, it's selfishness. It's a value issue. Well, yeah, it's a value issue, but behind that, it's get to the root, get to the real cause, not these satellite causes. What's the real issue? The real issue is a sin issue. The real issue is I care more about me than I do about you. And I know I took the vows until death do us part, but I didn't see this one coming. You took the vow, you took the promise, keep your promises. Here's my thing. Selfish people think about what you can do for them and what they can do to you. That's what they're after. What can you do for me? Sometimes, and what can I do to you? Selfless people, they're not looking at what you can do for them, but they are looking at what they can do for you, not to you. It's a big difference. It's use you versus serve you. In relationship, are you there to use someone, or are you there to serve someone? Which is it? Selfless people are there where I am here to serve you, not to use you. I'm here to give to you, not to take from you. Oh my. You think that comes easy? That's not easy. That's a tough one. Some folks get there. Some people don't. I go, which person would you rather work for? Selfish or selfless? Which person would you rather be married to? Selfish or selfless? And we know here, which person would you rather be? Selfish or selfless? See, you don't need God to be selfish. Anybody can be selfish. Selfless. Do you need God? I go, yeah. So, here's what I would say. If you want to be selfless, if you're really interested in doing what God says, Here's what I call the thinking of humility. So a thought has to change in your mind. The thinking of a selfless person is different than the thinking of a selfish person. Here's the thinking of a selfless person. It's still here in Philippians 2. But with humility of mind, let each of you regard one another as more important than yourself. That's a selfless person. See, a selfish person says, I'm more important than you. And don't think we don't think that. Of course we think. We're sitting there evaluating a lot. Well, we're all equal at the foot of the cross. And, that's true. But beyond that, are we thinking, well, who's more important? Do I have it happens all the time. You consider other people as more important than what you are. See, that changes everything. If you consider your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife as more important than you will be there more to serve that person than to use that person for what you want or what you can get from that person. Makes a big difference. You have two selfless people in relationship, it's like, wow. You have two selfish people in relationship, it's like, wow. It's so huge. It's not natural. A change is required. It's not an easy change. How quickly do you think about you and you come first? It's like this, right? You're sitting down Sunday morning, you're here early. Someone walks in, they want your seat. That's where I sit. I mean, I have not heard that it happens here. I haven't heard that. Maybe it does. Maybe they don't say it. Maybe they just look at you. Maybe they work one up. I don't know, but they let it be known they're not happy with your choice of seats. See, I can't worship from any other place than where you're at. And so you need to depart so I can be happy and worship go, seriously? Really? When you regard other people as more important, you'd say, well, you want this seat? Well, then go ahead. There's plenty of other seats. In fact, I can stand if it needs to, but it's not that big of a deal. Seeing more people more important is crazy. Here's the truth. Few outside of your family think you are very special. And there could be a few within your family that don't think you are either. And I know you're up telling your kids how special they are, how special they are, how special they are, how special they are, how special they are. And it's not that they're not, but I'm going to tell you something. Help them to understand that almost no one's going to treat them that way, and almost no one else is going to think of them that way. Are they special to God? Well, of course they are. Special? Well, of course they are. But outside of this, don't think your boss is going to treat you as special. Don't think that. They might, but don't be surprised if they don't. Because to them, I want something from you. And there's you have to think like that. Of course. But you want someone, you want a boss that does regard you and can treat you as a human being. So how many people really care about you? Not many. Really? Not many, right? You know that. Hopefully you care about a lot of people. I don't know. But the last half of this verse helps us know how to care about people. It's the thought behind how to be humble or selfless, thinking about others, all others, right? All others as being more important than me. I said, man, that is a shift. I love this verse that's out of James. You be careful. You be careful. You make sure you treat strangers with hospitality. Say, okay, why? Because some of you have entertained, you've encountered angels, and you didn't even know it. It says strangers, not family members, because you know they're not. But some, you treat strangers with hospitality, because you never know when it can be an angelic being. Because, we're so quick to dismiss strangers. They don't look right, they don't smell good, whatever it might be. And I'm not going to treat you like something special because look at you, I don't know you, and I got to be careful on these things. Be hospitable. Regard them in a caring manner. We rank people. I saw this program my wife had it on for me. She said, watch this. And it was about Paul McCartney. And if you know, Paul McCartney used to be one of the Beatles. And he's from Liverpool, England. And Paul was at a pub. And this was not announced, but him and some guys behind this curtain. And next thing you know, the curtain goes away, and there's Paul. He left-handed playing his guitar. Some of you saw that. And the people are going crazy, right? Because he's a rock and roll icon. So they closed the curtain, and they got some more people. I know they told them what was going on. It must have, because people are kind of like rushing in. It wasn't a very big place. And the old curtain goes down there, and there's Paul. And he's playing his guitar again and singing, and as only he can do. And here's what people were doing. With their cameras, they're taking a picture of their selfie, and there's Paul in the background, right? Of course you would. Like some of you, I've seen you already this morning. You taking the selfie, stand up with me in the background. I've seen that. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. But we're doing that. Why? Because they're putting that on Facebook, Instagram, whatever these social picture media things are out there, because they want people to know, man, I wish I could have been there. And I'm a Paul McCartney fan. We want to get our pictures taken with people whom we regard as more important than what we are. I used to have a picture of me, and the other person in the picture was Franklin Graham. You ever heard of Franklin Graham? It's one of Billy Graham's son. He runs Samaritan's Purse down in North Carolina. They do all kinds of things. And I'll tell you how it didn't happen. It wasn't that I was speaking at a conference. Franklin came to hear me speak, and after I was done, he said, "Hey, Rick, can we get a picture together that I can hang in my office?" Franklin was speaking at a conference. I went to hear Franklin speak. I went up afterwards, said, "Can we have a picture together?" And I hung it in my office. And Franklin never said, "Hey, can I have a copy of that?" Well, to him, I'm nobody. To my mom and dad, I'm special, but to Franklin, I'm just a regular guy. My wife and I, one time, we went to hear. See if you know who this is. Peter Noon. Anybody know who Peter Noon is? Sang with Herman's Hermits. Herman's Hermits. Remember Herman's Hermits? I'm Henry VIII, I am right. Second verse, same as the first. We went to hear Peter Noon of Herman's Hermits, and after the concert, Peter was signing autographs. You could take a picture. We were talking to Peter Noon, and there's my wife and I, and Peter Noon in the middle, and we still got this picture. I thought, whoa, because I love Herman's Hermits. Some of you people, what in the world are you talking about? But it was just a really huge 60s rock and roll guy here again from Great Britain. But we had our picture taken because I want my picture to be taken with people whom I regard as more important, at least in some respects. They can do what I can't. Get your picture taken with an athlete maybe, or someone of great importance that you consider to be. And you can throw out names and say, wow, I wish I could have met that person. I could have had my picture taken with so-and-so. But often it's we regard them in a way that's higher. I mean, if Paul McCartney asked me, could you get me a drink of water? Man, yeah. Franklin Graham, yeah. Peter, yeah. Could you loan me $5? Yeah, I think I can do that. Would you go pull weeds in my yard? Yeah, I think I would. And you're more important than what I am. The thought is don't just regard celebrities or famous people as more important, but yourself, but all people. That other people are more important than what you are. That's the thought behind humility or selflessness. Without that thought, you won't get there. Now here's the third and final, I call it the action of humility, the action of selflessness. It says, don't just look out for your own interest, but also the interest of others. See, that was the attitude that Jesus had. God the Father didn't send his only Son to this earth to have a good time and to have a lot of fun. It wasn't for him. Out of his selflessness, it was for all of us. Our interests, that we could be with him. When we're humble, we care about others. And we're more interested in them and what's going on in their life than we are about ours. We talk along the lines of their interests, not ours. At least not ours all the time. We even encourage them to talk about themselves. And they can get in a word. What's going on in their life, what their hopes and dreams, their interest. Sometimes we talk about ourselves, but we don't have to because we're more interested in them than what we are about us. Jesus himself did not think he needed to be equal with the Father. When he came to earth, he set aside temporarily some of his divine attributes. He emptied himself. And it says there in Philippians 2 that he became a bondservant or a bond slave. He humbled himself to the point of death, even death on the cross. That's what he did. He became our example of selflessness, so we can do nothing from selfishness. In caring and thinking about other people, because, drill this thought in your mind, other people have greater importance than I do. He's more important than me. She's more important than me, really. And when you think that way, you will treat them differently. We will treat them as our slogan or motto goes here at the church, loving God and loving others. Why? Because my life's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about others. It's about God. I go, live as such. Live selflessly. I'm going to pray, then we're going to do communion. Lord, huge passage. And I just know when I read it, I know, my own selfishness just comes to the surface. And I'm going, oh man, still there, huh? I thought I was doing better, but maybe I'm not. And so to revisit the thought of other people, all other people are more important than me. And I'm going to treat them as such. And I'm not going to treat anyone as less important than what I am. And then I'll be able to begin to lean into this passage out of Philippians 2. Wouldn't it be great if the world, and if not that, wouldn't it be great if the community, wouldn't it be great if the workplace or in our schools or the neighborhood, but Lord, wouldn't it be great if in our churches we just took this on and lived this out? Really to benefit humanity and to glorify God. May we do it in Christ's name. Amen.